Welcome back to the Out of the Rough podcast presented by We Know Fantasy. As always, my name is Nate with We Know Fantasy, and joining me as always is my co-host Jake. Jake, how are we doing today?
We're doing good. I didn't have anyone at the hunt of the players, but I have grown to despise Wyndham Clark more and more each tournament he tees it up. So that pretty egregious lip out on 18 left a smile on my face. So it was a really good tournament down the stretch. I
Oh
know you had
yes.
Xander, which kind of sucked, but it was really competitive down the stretch, and it was just some great golf. We had a great week of it. So uh, good for the game. I was very happy with it.
Yeah, love or hate Scotty Scheffler, what he was able to do coming from 5 strokes back, uh, in improbable fashion the way he did that. And I mean, he still opened the day 5 strokes back with one round to play at the Players, like 12-1 or 14-1. So I mean, that just goes to show how dominant he is currently in this stage of what's happening on the PGA Tour. Again, you mentioned it. I was on Xander, hopefully or hoping to cash my first outright of the PGA Tour season, unable to do so, and Xander blowing the lead there just 2 days after my 30th birthday as well. So uh, I guess Xander, I don't know. I've been on him a lot this season. I just I don't know what to think about it, but that's golf betting for you. It happens to the best of us, and it's going to happen 1,000 more times in doing this. So, yeah, it was just a great tournament. You mentioned there, even coming down to the last possible second with the lip out, where Wyndham Clark could have set it to a playoff. I mean, Xander had that beautiful chance from 6.5 feet that he missed on 17 to be one of what there was four golfers all day who birdied that hole, including Wyndham Clark. So three
Yep.
before Wyndham, and Xander put it within 6.5 and 4.5. Wyndham converted. Xander did not. I mean, even before that, when Xander had the back-to-back bogeys, he was one roll of ball away from a par to keep him at -20. Like, things were insane down the stretch. It was just great golf. I mean, it would have been a lot better to enjoy if I wasn't sweating a Xander ticket, but it is
Yeah.
what it is. It was a great tournament, and we move on, and that's all we can do here in doing what we do. Valspar Championship right around the corner here this week is what we're going to talk about on the PGA Tour side of things, and we have the Porsche Singapore Classic over the DP World Tour after a week off, returning to the DP World Tour action. But before we do get into things, Jake, where can we find you on social media?
Yep, you can find me at DJ Freeman on Twitter. I've been posting some stuff. It looks like the weather's going to be absolutely nasty this week, but I'm sure we're going to get into that a little bit more down the stretch. So keep an eye out for that. I've been posting content all week. Check out my article on We Know Fantasy. I just tweeted that out. It has my DFS and outright selections that Nate and I are about to go over as well. Also, shameless plug, join our Discord. We have over 150 members there. We've been live chatting the end of the players. We had, a good conversation going down the stretch. Good conversation even before. Like I mentioned, someone brought up Matt Fitzpatrick at 70-1. And even though he didn't win, at 70-1, did give me a little bit of a sweat on Thursday, Friday. He punted it away on Saturday, but Nick Taylor was also brought up. So a lot of good conversation, also good conversation this week. So make sure to hop in there to check out everyone's picks and join the conversation. Completely free to join. If you have questions for Nate and I after listening to the podcast or after reading our articles, we're fully available there as well. So good network to join and highly, highly encouraged, completely free.
Yeah, you mentioned it there. It's not just a place for us to like promote our stuff or post anything. It's a place to hang out. It's a place to talk about golf. And like you said, with I think we have 180 some members now. There is someone in there usually on someone. A great conversation all around. Just a great place to be, just to chat golf. I mean, it's no place for us to post about being professional better or anything like that, or push our picks or anything like that. It's just a place for us to engage with you guys and just simply talk golf. And that's what we love to do. That's why we do these podcasts. It's why we write our articles. It's why we do all of this, simply just because we love golf and love to watch it. And along the way, place a few dollars and hopefully win a few dollars. So nothing about what we do is in a professional nature whatsoever. So you can visit WeKnowFans.com for some more fantasy sports content. For before that, follow me on Twitter at WKFNate. Be sure to follow We Know Fantasy on all forms of social media at We Know Fantasy. But back to what I was saying, WeKnowFans.com. Fantasy baseball, basketball, football, NASCAR, golf, everything between. We have you covered. My Out of the Rough article series on there, in-depth breakdowns each and every week of the PGA, DP World Tour, and LPGA majors. It's where I really go into depth about the field event course, all my DFS plays, more so than everything I post or talk about here on the podcast, my full betting card. All that can be found there. Fantasy baseball sleeper series going up that I'm putting up. I just posted a March Madness upset, prediction
Great article, by the
article.
way.
Thank you, thank you. I ran another model for that. That was a very successful model last year. I think it was in the top 0.01% of brackets on ESPN. So I'm not sure it's going to turn out this year because it doesn't look as cool as it did last year with everything that was going on. But we'll see what happens. That is my bracket. It is, but fantasy NASCAR podcast. Cody and his wife Devin, fantastic work. I think they gained like 13 strokes. Going back to golf, 13 units last week as well. They're up like 20 some units to the first month and a half of NASCAR. They are absolutely killing it over there. So if you're looking to, as my dry spell continues on the PGA Tour, if you're looking to make a few more dollars to, maybe offset what I'm suggesting here, hop over to the Fantasy NASCAR podcast and gain a few units with Cody and Devin because, man, they should do other stuff and they're making a lot of money along the way. But I think that's it. So let's talk some golf here, Jake. We have the Singapore Classic that's not what I meant to say. We have the Valspar Championship PGA Tour side of things. But yeah, we get a break here from Scotty Scheffler, right? Back to back, Arnold
Thank God.
Palmer, the players. Scotty Scheffler not in the field this week, so we do get a break of the dominance that is Scotty Scheffler. And before we hop into things here, I want to talk about Wyndham Clark real quick. I know you talked about how much you don't like him, just his personality and everything that does. But in terms of just a pure golfer, what he's been doing this season, win at 18 Pebble Beach, runner up Arnold Palmer, runner up of the players. Where do you rank him in terms of top three, top five guys in the PGA Tour at this point?
Yeah, I think he's still outside the top five for me personally. I can't get over how like the whole thing with the drop this weekend drove me insane, where he's like walking over his drop zone for like 3 minutes before he drops the ball. And oh, well, the grass is now perfectly patted down, so the ball's sitting up perfectly for him. Like, I don't like those antics. Like, I understand, like, it just bothers me. But that being said, like he's had, a really good run of form with golf. And, if he keeps it up, he's for sure going to crack that top five, top three mark, in my opinion. Scotty is solidified at one, but, it's hard to deny. Like Xander is playing great golf, even though he hasn't been winning. He's been littering top fives and top tens. Justin Thomas is coming in some good form. I wouldn't say he's been better than Wyndham Clark, but I'm not ready to give him that top five crown yet, just because of my dislike for his antics. But what about you? Where do you place him?
Man, it's hard because I mean, if we date back to what the summer of last year, he's won 3 times on the PGA Tour, including the U.S. Open, 2 signature events along the way, elevated event, whatever you want to call it. So he's won some of the biggest prizes in all of golf, 2 runner-up finishes this season, just playing exceptional golf. And I don't know, with the way the top end of the tour is, panning out. I mean, you have Scotty Scheffler, Xander at this point probably playing as the second best golfer on the PGA Tour, but Rory McIlroy, he's not in the hunt of anything. I mean, it's still Rory, so he can do it. Patrick Cantlay is nowhere to be found. Like Victor Hovland is looking pretty bad, so I feel like you have to put Wyndham in the top five at this point. I mean, you mentioned there, I mean, his pace of play, the way it takes him 35 minutes to read a putt on the greens, just that type of things can drive a viewer wild. I mean, in some of those instances, like people were talking about the U.S. Open last year of how long he was taking to read on. I mean, I would do the same thing if I was putting to win a U.S. Open. I would be taking as long as humanly possible, if not then some. But I mean, at this point, he's still doing it, and it's just part of who he is and how he is. And I know the way he carries himself isn't, greeted by a lot of people. We had a discussion about it in the Discord. You mentioned it, and a lot of anti-Wyndham slander going on around. But I mean, he brought it on himself. I mean, he had all the
Right.
chances in the world to be one of the most beloved guys on tour with his story and everything
Yes.
he's overcome, and kind of just threw it away to be this villainous person, right? And then, I mean, like you
That's the
said,
frustrating part of it to me. Well, like he had the backstory with his mom and all of that. Also, the full swing episode, I was like, he was totally in disarray. He got it in order with sports psychologists. It's like totally had it together to be like, wow, like this guy like really has a great backstory, put it together, playing some awesome golf, but like some of his antics have just driven me nuts. But you mentioned pace of play. I watched on Thursday and Friday Scotty Scheffler get a massage every single hole. It drove me absolutely freaking batshit because
yeah,
it slowed the pace of the course. They got warnings to like, yo, Scotty, like you could do this while the other guys tee up, but you really need to like move it along after that. And just it really killed the pace of play where, round was suspended, round one and round two. And, you can't really pinpoint it on one thing, but I think that was a driving factor of it.
Yeah, you mentioned it there, and going back to what Scotty was able to do this weekend, of course, with the injury as well. But yeah,
Yeah.
that was wild to me that they allowed something like that to happen. Like you said, if it were to be as the other guy's teeing off, or as someone's maybe as they're walking down to the ball, someone's walking behind a massage, I'm not sitting in a chair along the fairway, extending play, getting a massage. That's just absolutely wild to me. And I mean, of course, if anyone's gonna get away with it, Scotty Scheffler, right? The PGA Tour is
Yep.
not gonna be like, you know, screw you, Scotty, right? You're
Withdraw.
pretty much
Right.
our face. You're the pride and joy of what we offer at this point. So we can't do this to him. But yeah, it was some weird stuff happening this weekend, especially with that. And we'll see what happens moving forward. But you know, these guys aren't being, Scotty's not being crucified like when Patrick Cantlay at the Masters last year. That it was just absolutely everyone was talking about how his pace of play was ruining everything with that. But then Scotty's literally sitting in lawn chairs on the side of the fairway getting a massage, which absolutely wild, absolutely wild. But I guess that's what happens when you're the world number one and dominating the world of golf as well as he is. But all right,
Yep.
enough conversation about what happened last week. Let's move forward here. The Valspar Classic, said it correct. Now I I almost gloated about how I said it correct, but I said Valspar Classic and not Valspar Championship. I'm mixing these tournaments up left and right. Valspar Championship, right? So here we are. Um, Mentioned it, break from Scotty. We're here, final month in Florida. We spent a month here, beginning way back the Cognizant Classic, the Players, the Arnold Palmer Invitational, now here at Valspar, the Innisbrook Resort Copperhead Course, Palm Harbor, Florida. This used to be, this is a really good field, what we're seeing this week. It used to be one of those one-off events, kind of a, they call it the hidden gem of the Florida swing, just because people often skip this because of the WGC Dell Technologies World Match Play mixed all that up. That was not correct, but you guys got the understanding there. Used to take place the following week. So, the world's top 64 golfers would be playing in that typically, but that discontinued. So that allows this to open up before we head to Texas. Well, I think Valero's next week or the Houston Open,
Yep.
one of the two. But yeah, a lot of guys used to skip this because of that. But the proximity here to the Players is a big part of why some of these guys are hanging around. Xander's in this field. I'm not sure, it's getting kind of late for him to withdraw. I'm not sure if he's going to withdraw. I mean, I thought everyone thought he was going to withdraw, but he still hasn't, at least to my knowledge, at the point of recording this podcast, which is super interesting, in my opinion. But yeah, let's talk about this field. Of course, I mentioned it there with Xander Schauffele, but there's actually 10 golfers within the top 30 of the OWGR playing this week. Two of them top 10, of course, Xander and Brian Harmon here. We also have Sam Burns, Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth, Tony Finau, Cameron Young, Sungjae Im, Nick Taylor, and Keegan Bradley, all within the top 30. Some other notable names: Minwoo Lee, Eric Cole, Keith Mitchell, Bo Hostler, Adam Hadwin, and Christian Bezenut. Taylor Moore is the defending champion. He held off Adam Schwank by a one-stroke last season. And he's back this week to defend his title. Sam Burns comes in looking to become the first and only three-time champion of this event. He won back-to-back in 2021 and 22. He was the second back-to-back champion. I think third 3 times if people won this 2 times. But he's looking to become the first 3-time winner. He's in this week's field. Other former champions this week's field include Hadwin 17, Spieth in 15, Kevin Streelman at 13, Luke Donald in 12, and Gary Woodland in 2011. So the Innisbrook Resorts Copperhead course is yet another demanding course from tee to green that will test the field. Like I said, it requires patience and an all-around game to compete here. Again, it was deemed one of the hidden gems of the PGA Tour. It's a very nice resort, very nice course, and just doesn't get the love it deserves because the way it falls in the schedule, and it'll continue to do so. Par 71, 7,340 yards, requires a total ball striking and short game to compete this week on greens that are pure Bermuda. Features multitude of tight doglegs that will force players to lay up off the tee. The fairways, too, are tree lined. Players are forced to work the ball in both directions at Copperhead. It's a shot maker's course with significant elevation changes. This allows for both bombers and short plotters off the tee to have success here. There's really no concrete way of how you should attack this golf course with the way it's laid out. Very challenging course in all. Narrow fairways that are hard to hold. Those that do choose to lay up off the tee, I mean, difficult and long approach shots onto tight, fast, pure Bermuda greens. Just a bunch of a lot of challenges this week. This course has offers. It is known for some of the most difficult par threes in the entire PGA Tour as well. So taking advantage of those and holding your own really on those is going to be crucial this week. Um, yeah, it is also known for its final three holes, known as the Snake Pit. These three holes are guarded or welcomed in by a big bronze snake statue. Again, it's only stationary. It's just for there for look. Nothing to imagine if it was like a mini golf course where this giant snake shifted across. Oh, I dropped my mic. I'm a professional. I was trying to Jesus
Demonstrate.
Christ for our video viewers to here we go. Yeah, imagine if a snake statue just went back and forth of like an island green or something across like a pond or something. That'd be pretty awesome. But no, we don't get that this week here at the Snake Pit. But this includes a 460-yard par 16 known as Moccasin, the 215-yard par 3 17th known as Rattler, and the 445-yard par 4 hole known as Copperhead, the final hole that is. So these final three holes offers a lot of dramatics down the stretch. Every hole plays roughly a half a stroke over par annually. So it is very challenging. The course and event can definitely be won and or lost here at the Snake Pit. Long iron and Bermuda putting specialists thrive here. And like I said, we've seen back-to-back winners twice in the past 6 years here as well. You mentioned the weather. It doesn't look great, right? And I think that's just part of playing Florida golf in the springtime. We're going to see
Yep.
thunderstorms often, even if it's not on the radar. They're going to show up, or on the forecast. Excuse me, they're going to show up there. So, yeah, it's going to be another one of those interesting events that could be weather impacted. But anything else about the field event, of course, weather? Anything you want to mention here before we move forward, Jake?
I think I saw something on Twitter about Taylor Moore when he won last year. I think he played the par threes at like 5 over or something crazy like that. So, these par threes are really, really difficult, like you mentioned, and it's one of those things that like, the winner last year played him at, 5 over, might not be the most important statistic this week. I'm personally going to look at par five scoring. I want my guys to be able to take care of those. Also, I want guys who can play from the fairway, like you said, tree lines, need to be able to work the ball left and right. So I think fairways are going to be super, super pivotal to scoring this week. But yeah, I think you covered it really well.
Yeah, you don't want the guy that you're holding on your card to go on the 18th hole and miss the fairway into maybe some pine straw when they
Right.
absolutely have to birdie. That'd be kind of weird if someone did that. All
Scary
right.
hours.
All right. Let's move on to our DFS suggestions here. What we do each and every week, we have 5 monetary categories based on DraftKings pricing with a $10,000 plus, the nines, eights, sevens, and 1,600 belows. I guess it's common. I thought it was just gonna be a one-off thing, but it seems to be common now that DraftKings now has the 5K price range. So we may have to get a little adventurous down maybe in the future and maybe add that in there. We do a 6,000, 6,900, and a 5, 1,500 if it sticks around that way. But we'll see if this is the new norm. But the past month or so, it's been every tournament.
Yeah.
All right. $10,000 plus price range. I think there's only 4 golfers here, but man, I mean, you can't go real wrong with many of them. Who's your favorite here, Jake?
Yeah, my favorite here is Justin Thomas at 10-4. I think that, missing the cut last week was really concerning, but what I'm seeing here is that his true strokes gained on approach were 2.5 per round, and he really lost it all with the putter, which is absolutely insane. And like I mentioned before, if you're playing from the fairway, playing with the irons is going to be super important. And like you mentioned in your course breakdown, you need a really competent short game to play well here. And I think that this is a great bounce back spot for Justin Thomas. If we throw out, missing the cut last week and missing the cut at the Genesis, he's had one of the hottest starts on the PGA Tour. Um, you know, we know what we get with Justin Thomas: elite approach and iron play, elite around the green play. The putter absolutely lost it for him last week, but it's one of those things that I'm willing to throw out because if he's playing from the fairway and get that putter going hot, I think this is a great bounce back spot where you could win this week.
Yeah, and pure Bermuda greens, not super difficult greens to put on. Like the Bermuda grass is
Right.
a I shouldn't say simple grass, but in comparison to say a Paua or a bent grass, it's much easier to putt on, and especially being pure Bermuda. A lot of these Bermuda greens, quote unquote, we see are overlaid with a bent grass or something else mixed in there. But this is a pure Bermuda, so it's a rather simple surface to putt on for these guys. So I don't think putting is going to be an absolute. Of course, you still need a putt, but I don't think it's going to be. I think the difference is going to be decreased because of the pure Bermuda grasses this week. But yeah, it can never go wrong with JT. You mentioned there we need a strong around the green game, and who's better in this tour than JT? Probably no one. Um, but yeah, I'm going top this price range. Going back to Xander, right? I like to be hurt, I guess. No, he needs to win sooner or later. It's going to happen, right? He hasn't won since 2022 at the Genesis Scottish Open. I mean, this guy's won like 13 times in his career, but it's been darn near 2 years since he's done that. Last week was a close example, but this entire season he's literate with top five. He's a third place earlier this season. He's been there so close. It's just that thing is so getting over that hurdle is a big thing. So it's not like it's the players where you're trying to hold on to a lead here. It's still an important tournament, but it's not a signature event or anything like that. So I'm hoping he comes out here with motivation from what he was able to do himself personally last week. A T2 at the players. If it wasn't for a berserk Scotty Scheffler just going absolute nuts and shooting, an 8 under on the final day or whatever it was, 7 under, whatever, he would have gone to a playoff with Wyndham Clark there and possibly had the chance of winning. I mean, Wyndham wasn't playing well at all, or either as well down the stretch there. So it could have gone his way if it wasn't for the absolute dumbest of Scotty Scheffler. But again, super well run a game. He last week was majestical around the greens, except those last two bogeys he had. But for the entire tournament, he was one of the best around the greens. His touch was phenomenal. Some of the improbable shots he was able to pull off. That one par four, I think 16 or 15, where he put the ball over the green and had a uphill, rather challenging chip up, and he put it within like 2 foot of the cup for a tap and birdie. Like he was doing things that we're accustomed to seeing, like a JT or Jordan Spieth, someone like that doing around the greens.
Yep.
Xander was doing last week. So if you add that into his game and everything else he does, he's a well above average putter, elite iron play. So if you mix in and a darn near elite around the green play, it's going to come. And I think this could be the week he needs a victory really mentally, especially after last week. Who knows how much he'll be in it because of what happened last week? But I think Xander's a
Yep.
competitor. I mean, we think back to
Yeah.
4 years ago, he went to the Olympics without, no one else really went there and went and grinded out a gold medal, things like that. I think Xander wants to do it. I don't think he's one to just, go to the next week, daily dally around, collect a paycheck, and kind of move on. I think he's here to win. And again, we're spending up. I think people are going to be off of him because not only the price, but because of what he did last week. There's a lot of Xander slander going around recently. He can't close it out. He can't do this. I mean, Xander's won a ton on the PGA Tour. It's not like he can't win. It's just he hasn't won one of those big ones, which is a completely different monster, right? But again, last week was his closest call, really. But yeah, I think it's right there. He's knocking the door, and I think he's going to do so. And I just want to also mention Sam Burns here as well, just because not only was he the back-to-back winner in 21 and 22, he also placed T6 here a year ago, and then I think T12 the event prior. So he absolutely loves this golf course. There's a reason he plays it each and every season. I think he's played it 6 straight years now.
Yep.
He doesn't have to play it. He's a top 20, 30 player in the world. He doesn't have to play this golf course, but he absolutely loves it. Performs very well here, and he's priced. Let's see, Xander's 11-2. I don't know if I mentioned that, but Sam Burns is 10-9, so he's right below him. But yeah, I think Burns may be the ownership choice here because of being a back-to-back winner just 2 years ago and dominating this course. But I think Xander could offer a nice kind of lower ownership than what we could be expecting.
Yeah, I think the common theme between all three of the guys that we mentioned, so Xander, Burns, and Justin Thomas, I think it's going to come down to who's playing from the fairway the most, right? These guys
Yep.
are all elite iron putters. I mean, Justin Thomas, give or take, with the putter, but these guys have their strengths and weaknesses, but whoever's playing from the fairway most and puts their drives in play when they need it the most. Sorry to dig at Xander a little bit there, but it's one of those that, like, if you're positioned well at the right time at the right place, I think that person is the most live to win, which is not a hot take at all. That might be like a, Dr. Obvious or Mr. whatever it is. But those three guys, if you're in the fairway the most, I think they have the best chance to win.
I mentioned it when something this course up, it's a positional golf course. Like having your ball in the correct,
Yep.
not only in the fairway, but the correct side of the fairway, on this down slope, on this up slope, like all of that comes into factors at this golf course. So yeah, you mentioned it there. Whoever can position themselves again, this is not like it's breaking news where boots on the ground, breaking anything out of anything. This is just the
Yep.
obvious. And I mean, sometimes it has to be stated.
Yep.
All right, moving on to our 9K price range. I guess I didn't like this price range at all this week. I have one golfer that's Brian Harmon at 9.8. His ownership's gonna be through the roof. I mean,
Yep.
especially what he did last week. That's all I have to say about that. But beyond that, man, I just offered one in my DFS breakdown, and that was Brian Harmon.
Wow.
Again, of course, we love what Brian Harmon does, right? He's a grinder. He loves these type of golf courses. He's going to come elite scrambler, good with a putter, just good all around, and he's going to compete. It's what he does, and especially after what he did last week as well. Just again, a T2 out of nowhere with Wyndham and Xander, and again, he could have been one of those guys that wins the playoff. It wasn't for Scotty Scheffler,
Yep.
and he also had a chance for that birdie on 18 to get to 20 under. Barely missed it as well. So he had a chance as well to not only match but possibly win the Players. Um, I think he's here to do that as well. But yeah, beyond that, I skipped this price range essentially.
Yeah. I was indifferent, right? Like, I've been playing Nick Taylor all season. I couldn't really get my finger off of him. I had him at 200 to 1 last week, and without a +4 on Saturday, I would have been holding my ticket real tight on Sunday because he would have been
Yeah,
close. Like it would have been a sweat. I would have been right there with you, with Xander, but he kind of just profiles perfectly for this golf course. He's an accurate
he
driver
does.
of the golf ball, plays his irons well. He's decent around the greens, and he's a great putter. So he profiles really well. He won at the Phoenix Open not too long ago. That was in the middle of February, and we're in the middle of March. So give or take 4 weeks ago, this guy won on the PGA Tour. So last year he had a T10 here. I couldn't take my finger off of Nick Taylor this week, but the other guy I wrote up that I definitely want to mention is Sungjae Im. That was the guy I came in here wanting to talk about on the podcast because it's been a really crappy start to the 2024 season for Sungjae, but a lot of things about this golf course just feel right where, he can finally get himself back on track. He had a T18 at the API, a T31 last week at the Players. So kind of rounding out that form, he's only played here twice, which surprised the crap out of me considering, I
Yeah,
picture Sungjae Im playing every single week possible. So to see a guy like that only play this course twice, like you said, this is a very easy skip over course in the schedule that Sungjae Im, rarely takes advantage of, but it looks like that's what he's done here. But in 2019, he had a T4, and in 2021, he had a T29. So decent finishes there. His long-term stat profile shows accurate off the tee, good with the irons, good with the putter. So and good around the greens. So those four things for Sungjae feels like a good get right spot on a kind of crappy start to the 2024 season
yeah, I
at
can
a
see.
at a discounted ownership.
Well, yeah, for sure. What you mentioned there, I was going to say that I can see where the allure of these guys are. Nick Taylor's going to be owned at the wazoo as well. Just from
Yep.
what I've been seeing already. Same with Brian Harmon, like I said. But Sanjay, I love Sanjay. I love those type of players, right? The Korean golfers, the Tom Kims, the Siwoo Kims, the world. They all play very similar golf, right? Um, I would love to see it. I feel like he's one of those good guys of golf, right? Those guys that
Yep.
just want to have fun and vibe out while they're doing it on the golf course. And Sanjay has been a while since he's been able to do that. He's been down for a while, especially last year when he went over to Korea and then came back and just have been pretty much not the same golfer since. He went to Korea in good form and came back in really bad form. Hasn't been able to gather
Yep.
it since, but models well to this course. I see it as well with what he, you know, I guess you could say historically models well to this course. Not what he's doing on the season because he's been rather poor this
Yep.
season, but historically speaking, this is a course that would match up really well to his strong suits. All right,
Yeah, and that's
let's.
something that we spoke about last week in the Discord. Like, these tougher golf courses, long-term form plays a lot more into account than short-term form, where
Yeah,
like if long-term they've profiled well for a place, it's more likely that they're going to play well, i.e., Matt Fitzpatrick last week. So, I was particularly keen on Sung J.M.
yeah, that's a good point as well. Just because these courses are a quote unquote grind fest, so it takes a special unique blend of skill sets, and it's not something you can kind of just gather over a few weeks or a month or so to really suit well for these golf courses. So
Yep.
all right, on to the 8K price range, which, again, usually I'm pretty vocal that I'm against, but this week I am rather for. I'm pretty sure you know who I want to lead this off with, so I'll let you kick it off here, and we'll see if we double up.
Alrighty. I wrote him up, but I'm going to skip and talk about my other guy. It's going to be Bo Hostler at $8,300. So Bo's had a pretty crappy start to the year, a little bit of a seesaw. He started out pretty good. T6 at the Farmers, a T14 at the Pebble Beach Pro-Am, but kind of tapered off. He missed the cut at the Players. But before that missed cut, he made like 12 putts in a row, which is what I like to see. He's one of those guys that, long-term stats show that he does not play out of the fairway too much. But as of recent, he's actually gained on the field in accuracy off the tee in his 3 of his last 4 starts, which was promising. Um, a pretty average approach player, but really good around the green and with the putter. So it's one of those that if he can get the approach play going and play from the fairway, it's kind of one of those low ownership chances that I'm willing to take, because the guy that you're about to speak about is going to eat up a ton of
Yes.
ownership in the 8K range. So I'll lead you into that with your guy.
Yeah, I mean, I am all over Doug Gim this week. Absolutely all over him. I've been on him, for a few weeks now. It's nothing new, but this week is just a perfect storm. He actually topped my statistic-based model this week. Everything you want. He's first on tour in par 5 average score, and he talked about how important you want to see that this week. Taking advantage of those par 5s, because you can play the par 3s over par and still do just fine here. He's killing it in the par 5s. He's 11th in tee to green and bogey avoidance, 12th in driving accuracy, which is something that's kind of eluded Doug Gim for a long time. Is finding those fairways. In this entire season, he is a top 15 play in that category. 13th in approach. We know that's what Gim's going to bring to the table. 15th in scrambling and ball striking. Again, scrambling wasn't something he used to be too good at. He could find himself in trouble, and it could really compile, get to a double bogey situation rather quickly. But this season has been able to turn it around. Again, a long irons there, 30th and 175 plus, 41st around the green, 76th and 3 or par 3s, and 104th in strokes gained putting Bermuda. Again, knocked to Doug Gibbs' game. Very poor putter. He used to be one of the worst putters on tour. Over his last 2 events, he gained 0.761 strokes per round. That wasn't total, that's per round at the Players, and 1.187 per round the Cognizant Classic. Both on Bermuda greens, both in Florida, similar climates, similar courses. He is, shaping up really well. T16 at the Players, Doug Gim. This is a T6 at the Cognizant Classic, T8th at Mexico Open, T12th at WM Phoenix Open, T13th at the Farmers Insurance Open. This is dating back to early February. He has, 4-5 straight top 16 performances on the PGA Tour, including WM Phoenix Open, which could have been an elevated event, and the Players, which is the 5th major. So in some fantastic form. I opened the books on Monday, 80-1 instant smash. He's down to like 40 or 45-1 now. So I'm absolutely loving that number.
Yep.
Again, every one of their brothers on Doug Gim though this week. So it's nothing
Yep.
crazy, but if he is to go on to win with an 80-1 ticket on my hand opposed to a 40-1, I would be fantastic, or I would absolutely be happy no matter if I had a 40-1 or 80-1. But 81 would make that victory so much sweeter. But like I said, I've been on him for a while now. It's been shaping up. It's been heading this direction. Hopefully this is it for Doug Gim and he gets over that finish line and gets himself a victory of the PGA Tour this week.
Yeah, you could tell the difference in times that Nate and I wake up, because he got him at 80, I got him at 70 when I woke up, and now it's down to 45. He was my first click also. He's just been playing some incredible golf, right? And I think this might be a rare instance of more of a better outright play than a DFS play, just because a 20% owned 8K range guy is a little scary. Like if he goes on to win, obviously that's going to be huge. But if he does finish outside the top 10, top 20, playing other guys in this 8K range could be great pivots to, help out your lineups and stuff. But I agree with everything you said. Doug Gim is, he's primed up for this week.
Yeah, if you want another option here, real quick, Aaron Rai at 8-5. I like that play as well. This is a course for him as well. He's the best on the tour currently in finding fairways. Of course, strong approach play. It is if the putter's going to roll in his favor. He's not one to ever, when we talk about Aaron Rai having a hot putter or a spike putting week, it's spiked to even. It's never going to be spiked to +2 or 3. It's spiked to even. So if he can spike to even this week, he's got a real chance as well with the rest of his game. But just another you mentioned there with the pivots to move on to. But right, and then let's move on to our 7K price range. I'll kick this one off here. I'm going to leave with Billy Horschel, 7-4. Ownership, I think, is going to be very, very fine on this one. Not in the best of
Yep.
form. I guess you can say mixed form. Missed the cut last week at the Players, but part of that T19th, the Cognizant Classic. I like to see that. Another Florida golf course within 2 weeks here, or 3 weeks, I guess. Not really anything of a proven track record here as well. He's played here. Last time he played was 2018, missed the cut. But in terms of stats wise, he's currently second on tour in proximity to the hole for 175 plus. We're going to see a lot of those this week with the forced layups on a lot of these golf holes. And, when it comes to Billy Horschel, he's not long off the tee, so he's going to be forcing himself to lay up quite often. So being able to tone it in with those super long irons at 175 plus, second on tour doing so, I think it's a great leg up. On top of, he's fifth in par three average scoring, sixth in ball striking, 14th in bogey avoidance. He's a top 20 strokes game putting Bermuda guy, 29th in driving accuracy, 62nd tee to green. So he's checking all these boxes for me this week. I think ownership's very fine, 74, some great value. I think he's just kind of one of those guys we kind of forget about. A guy that's been around for a long time. He's played a lot of golf courses, a lot of golf in his time in his early 40s. But yeah, I think this is a great golf course for him. And, with the top 10 recently on the Florida swing, why not take a DFS shot here with Billy Horschel?
Yeah, I like that call out a lot. I thought about him a ton this week. He just missed my write-up this week. He's a Florida guy. I'm pretty sure he went to
Yep.
UF. And he's just one of those guys that like when he's hot, there is nobody that will beat
Oh,
him.
yes.
Like when he gets those irons dialed and he's giving himself like 3-footers on every hole, like watch out. And what better place to do it than his home state of Florida? It's one of those you're going to get a really low ownership on him, like you said. So yeah, I love that call out because if you get a spike week from Billy Ho, you're going to get a really good return in DFS.
And it'll be exciting
Um,
along the way as well. It's not going to be a
exactly.
boring
Yeah,
spike week. It's going to be very exciting.
yes, there's going to be some flair. But the guy I'm going with is Sam Ryder at $7,300. I think he might garner a little bit of ownership because of his recent form, but that's the reason why I clicked him. I mean, a T21 at the Cognizant, a T16 last week at the Players. He just profiles again. Like I completely took driving distance out of the equation this week. So when I looked at guys, especially Sam Ryder, accurate driver, good on approach, good around the green, and good putter. So he fit what I was looking for. And if you pair that with the recent history or his recent form, why not go to him at 7,300? His course history is kind of crappy, but I was happy to see a T19 last year at this event. So trending in the right direction there. It looks like he's lost on approach when he's played here historically, but I'm happy to report back that in his last 6 starts, he's gained on approach. So it's one of those that the current form is trending in the right direction. And at 7,300, I think that's a good price to take a shot on a guy I think could win this week.
Yeah, he's broke the record for most birdies in around the Players as well. So some pretty good form, I would say so. I mean, he still finished T16th and had 28 or 29 birdies, but also a handful of double bogeys and a triple bogey, I think, along the way
Right.
as well. But yeah, that'll happen. That'll happen. But no, it's great play there. And, because of what he did last week, I see the ownership maybe tick up a little bit. But again, a 7K guys should never garnish that much ownership just because of the disparity and what you can do down here. So we'll see what happens with that when the numbers drop, when kickoff is on Thursday. But yeah, love that play as well. All right, the final price range is 1,600 and below. Who's your play here and why?
I'm really excited about both guys I wrote up this week, but I'm going to keep one of those. So read my article for the other guy. I'm going with Alexander Bjork at $6,400. I dove so deep into this 6K range, you have no idea. But Alexander Bjork could be my favorite play this week. Like you said, we know he's a DP World Tour staple. He got his PGA Tour card, so not a lot of people know him. He's going to have really low ownership, which I love. He is very short off the tee, like Brendan Todd-esque off the tee. You are not getting any distance. So if you are one of the people that are like, oh, I need some form of distance, you are not
No.
going to get that. But what I am happy to report back is that what he lacks in distance, he gains in accuracy. So he's extremely accurate off the tee. He's also great on approach and great with the putter. So I'm really happy to see those stats come up for me at $6,400. I think he's a complete diamond in the rough. He's a lineup winner, contest winner. He's just all there for me, and he has the pedigree. He's a little bit on the older side, but if you track back to his DP World Tour season last year, he played really good golf. He hasn't really found his legs under him on the PGA Tour, but I think this course kind of profiles well for him to get himself back on track and have a good week.
Yeah, he's one of those DP guys that kind of got overshadowed because he's a veteran of the DP World Tour. He's not one of these young, flashy guys that, we got kind of blown away with Matthew Pavon coming in here and winning right away. Hogard coming over, Rio Histune, those type of guys that are on the younger side and come over here and have instant success. So Alexander Short flyer on the radar, but man, I was all over him on the DP World Tour last season, the season before, just fantastic with the irons, what you need this week. You mentioned it, super accurate, no distance, but everything else, he's one of those super well-run guys that's going to come out here and kind of play mistake-free golf. And you can just hope that a few things fall in his favor, kick here, kick there, and a putt or two to fall that won it normally for him. He can be right there. And I love that play, great value. Ownership's going to be probably 1%, if not less. So absolutely love that
Yeah.
play. And yeah, I'm a little jealous I didn't go that way
And
myself.
I also like that if the weather gets a little inclement, that these DP World Tour guys know how to play in inclement weather. So, that's also a cherry on top here. And I've got him projected at 3% ownership, which is honestly a little high in my opinion. I think it might come in closer to, like you said, that 1% mark, but still, he's a lineup winner or a contest winner in my opinion.
Yeah, especially from Sweden as well. I'm sure even more so for the DP guys from like England or something. I think Sweden's weather's maybe even more uh,
Inclement.
inclement than what is over in England. But I'm going Andrew Novak here, 6'7". Absolutely love this play. I've seen a bit of him, so I think of course his ownership's through the roof, but I think it may be more than what I would like it down here. But 6'7", you're off the 600 number. Love that. But man, I love Andrew Novak this week. He's a guy I got at 150 to 1. When the books open, I think he's down to like 120, 120 or 100 ish at this point. But currently sixth on tour around the green, 14th in scrambling, 15th tee to green, 22nd approach, 28th in par fives, 30th approximately for 175 plus, and 40th versus ball striking. Great form. Again, he's 140th in strokes gained putting Bermuda, but we go back to like Gim. He putted 0.513 strokes per round at the Cognizant and 0.799 strokes per round at the WM Phoenix Open. That's Andrew Novak there. So gaining a half a stroke to close to a stroke on those two tournaments. So he's in some good putting form as well. Missed the cut last week of the Players, but again, who didn't? And prior to that, he put a stretch together of 3 consecutive top 10 finishes. T9th at the Cognizant, T8th at the Mexico Open, and T8th at the WM Phoenix Open. So 3 top 10s there and some decent events as well. He played here last 2 years, excuse me, T27th last year. Again, 150 to 1's where I grabbed him, 6,700. Absolutely love him this week, all over him. But again, for someone in this price range, he may get too much ownership after what I'm seeing across Twitter, especially.
Yeah, I agree. I'm projecting at 7% ownership, so that's a little high for this range. But like you said, coming in on some great form. And my favorite thing to do is to throw out a miscut in the middle of great form. And that's what you got to do with Novak here. If you throw out that miscut, he has a T9, T8, T8 in his last 3. So playing some really awesome golf. And that being said, like if he goes out there and plays well, a top 10, top 5 finish, even at that 7% ownership, he's going to be perfectly fine in your DFS lineups. You just need to hit well on your other guys and also need him to perform. But yeah, playing some awesome golf.
Who's this other guy you want to talk about real quick before we move on?
It's going to be Lee Hodges at $6,600. I also think he might garner a bit of ownership. It's been a little bit of a seesaw start to the season, but what I'm seeing from Lee Hodges is fitting my mold perfectly. Accurate driver of the golf ball, great with the irons, good putter of the golf ball too. He's gained over a stroke per round in his last 2 with the flat stick. He also gained over a stroke per round on approach at the API, which was his second for most recent start. So just profiles super well. At these, I'm expecting to find these guys that profile well at that $6,900, $6,800 range. So to find them at 66 and 64, I'm really excited.
There we go. All right, let's move on to our betting card this week. We have three categories we'll talk about this week. We have our overall favorite, simply if you can place one bet this week, who would it be and why? Personal favorite, maybe someone that you're on the community's out on, just a great value, personal favorite golfer, something like that. And of course, our long shot, self-explanatory, the longest odds we're on. So, Jake, who is your one and only favorite bet this week?
Yep, my favorite bet's got to be Sam Burns. I parlayed him up with a couple of things tonight, so we'll hope that that goes well so that I can get him at a little bit of a bigger number. But it's so hard to deny his course form. There's just something about this place that fits his eye perfectly. I think we mentioned everything about him, but he's my favorite play this week.
Yeah, I'm gonna go super boring with you as well. Sam Burns is my play here. I have him at 12 to 1. Put 3 units on it just to make up for it. But man, like you said, there's just something about this course, the way he plays here, the whatever mentally he has when he steps on this golf course, it's there for him. So, uh, yeah, I absolutely love that play as well, and that's where I'm going with as well. So, who's your personal favorite bet of the week?
Yeah, my personal favorite's got to be Nick Taylor. I covered him in our DFS section, but just profiles perfectly, being accurate, good with the irons, good around the greens and with the flat stick. So he's my personal favorite. I've been on him all season long.
And mine's Doug Gim here, 80 to 1. I know he's down to 40 or 45, but been on him myself this season. Everything's kind of just, the what was once his weaknesses are now turning into strong suits. We saw it last season with a few guys down the stretch as well. So hopefully we get things done here with Doug Gim. Then our long shot. Who's the longest odds you're on this week?
Yep. Right now it's Sam Ryder at 100 to 1, but I think I'm going to change that and make that Alexander Bjork at 150 to 1. I think that's a big number. You're risking very little to win a lot on him. So I just talked him up a ton and I love him as a long shot this week.
Yeah, mine's Andrew Novak. I have him 150 to 1. I saw he was down about 110, 120 at this point. But yeah, we talked about him, why I like him this week, and yeah, models extremely well. All right. Anything else about the Valspar Championship before we move forward?
Nope, I think we covered it all.
All right. So we're going to move over here to the DP World Tour side of things. If I can get my phone to cooperate with me and I get my content loaded up, we're moving over to the Porsche. It's the Porsche Singapore Classic. We'll get that out of my mouth here. But again, week off between the quote unquote international swing, moving from Africa over to the quote unquote Asian swing of the DP World Tour schedule. It is, like I said, last time we saw was Janssen Workwear open 2 weeks ago. Now we're here in Singapore. It returned to the schedule last year after a near 9 year hiatus from the DP World Tour schedule. Last year, the event was held at the Laguna National, which is again is the host this week. It is often regarded as one of the most difficult courses on the entire Asian continent. So we'll get to see some quality golf over on the DP World Tour side of things this week. It's an interesting field to say the less. We have Shane Lowry leading the way here after finishing up a round at the Players on Sunday, hopping on a plane and going clear to Korea to be ready to play. We're both in Eastern time zone here. That's where what the Players is in. Starting at 7:30 p.m. on a Wednesday our time. So finishing up the Players at roughly probably 4 p.m. Flying close to 24 hours to Singapore to be then ready in 2 days' time, if that, to play 4 more rounds of golf. It's an interesting thing, and I know you text me earlier, and you're like, I wonder what he's getting paid to do this, because I don't think you're out of your
Yeah.
free will making this trip. But this is his first time playing in Singapore in 12 years, so we'll see what happens there. Joining him is PGA Tour starlet Matthew Pavon, making his return to the DP World Tour after his maiden PGA Tour victory at the Farmers Insurance Open earlier this season. Another notable name this week is Paul Casey of the Live Golf Tour. He received a sponsor's invite this week. This will be his first appearance in the DP World Tour since the Hero Dubai Classic in 2022. So over 2 years since he's played on the DP World Tour. Oki Strindom is the defending champion. He edged Sammy Velamaki in a rather exciting finish this season to go to claim the title. Back this year to defend his title. Other notable names this week's field include Rasmus Højgaard, Jordan Smith, Tom McKibben, Ewan Ferguson, Thurston Lawrence, Richard Mansell, and Yannick Paul. The course this week, Laguna National, the classic course at Laguna National Golf and Country Club in Tampines, Singapore. Of course, probably said that rather incorrectly. It opened in 1993 as a par 72 at 7,471 yards. This course is no walk in the park, as I previously mentioned, regarded as one of the most difficult courses on the entire Asian continent and known locally as the quote unquote the beast. The course website describes the course as visually stimulating and refreshing, bold in its presentation. The Classic has a reputation as one of the most difficult and dramatic tests of golf in Asia. To tune with its nickname of the Beast, there is 146 bunkers and 5 water features on this golf course. The greens are laid in a platinum paspalum and are undulating. The greens are also bumpy and unpredictable. The weather will be the biggest defense this week. It is going to be weather unlike what most people on the DP World Tour have come to know. The very hot, humid, sticky conditions throughout the week, and pretty much a evening slash afternoon thunderstorm is the norm at this time of year in Singapore. So we'll see what happens there. Those accustomed playing in such climates and on this type of terrain will see an advantage. I think we could date back to some of the previous events here that's been held at Laguna. 2020 or 2002 to 2007, the Singapore Masters was held here. This is also the venue of the DP World Tour's last visit, um, with the championship at Laguna National in 2014. Those who are, accustomed maybe on the Asian tour, the Japanese tour, anything like that, that have played some Asian based golf, can deal with this weather a little bit better than most. May see an advantage this week due to that. But beyond that, anything you want to mention here, Jake, before we move forward?
No, I think you covered it well. Personally, I just looked at bombers a lot. I want people to hit the ball far here.
There we go. All right. So that's what we're talking about this week. We have our betting cards now. I have the 5 guys personally here. Jake, how many you got?
I do too, but I think we're gonna, what's it called? Align on a couple of them.
All right, well, I'll kick it off here. I'm going back to my Xander Lombard well, 33-1. I think the pressure was too much for him. He was in some of the best form we've seen on the DP World Tour in many years when he headed home to South Africa for both the SDC and the Johnson Workwear. And he just absolutely crapped the bed nonetheless. He missed the cut by a long shot in both events. Like I said, I just think the pressure of him returning home in seek of a maiden DP World Tour victory was too much for him, and due to that, just kind of laid down a bit. But I think if we exclude those 2 events, what he was able to do at the start of the season has been phenomenal. His worst finish through 8 events prior to those 2 was a T25th, and then if you exclude the T25, it was T16th or better in 7 of 8 events. T2nd the Bahrain Championship earlier this season. He models well for me this week. He's 5th on tour in putts per green regulation, 12th in average driving distance, 13th in tee to green, 27th in scrambling, 40th on approach, and 54th around the green. Like I said, he cooled off a bit recently, but I think if we take off what he did in South Africa, kind of wipe the board clean a little bit, pressure's back off of him, heads over here now to Asia. I think a victory could be coming for Lombard sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I like the call out. I was really close to betting him, but I was scared off by his last 2 weeks, and I haven't been on him all season. So it's one of those I totally understand from a perspective of you've been on him all season, and it's one of those that like the spotlight's off of him. Like this could be the time where he just, lets his shoulders down, lets his hair loose for lack of a better term, and just goes out there and plays good golf without any pressure. But I was a little scared seeing the strokes gain total lost over the last 2. I was between him and the guy that I ended up going with, which was Richard Mansell at 33-1. So, like I said, I valued distance off the tee a lot, and he's just a little bit longer than Lombard off the tee. So he absolutely cracks it off the tee, which is what I love to see. Also in some awesome form. In his last 7 starts, sorry, his worst finish was a T25. That's also 2 top 10s in his last 2 starts, T9 at the Ras Al Khaimah and a T9 at the Commercial Bank Qatar Masters. So he took that South Africa swing off, which might be a little scary. We haven't seen him tee it up in almost a month, but back in 2023, when this event was held here, he finished T6, what I like to see. So he's also a good iron player and good around the green. So if he can get that putter going, I like his chances this week at 33-1.
Yeah, he was the first guy off my card just because I had 2 golfers already in this kind of price range with, Lombard and now my next guy. So he was right there. He was really close to being on my card, and I'm going to move over here to my next guy, Sebastian Soderberg at 35-1. Yeah, probably my favorite this week. He is my favorite per my model. No, he's not per my model, but one of my favorites. He's second to my next guy I'll talk about. But yeah, he comes this week third on tour and approach, fourth in tee to green. The two most easily the most important stats pretty much on the entire any golf tour. He's also eighth in scrambling, 31st in putts per green in regulation, and 42nd around the green. If there's a knock to the game, it's the driving distance. You talked about the importance of driving distance, and I've taken consideration myself, but the rest of his game can be elevated drastically by what he can do. Um, he doesn't make up for it in accuracy either. Oftentimes we see these guys that are not long off the tee and they make up for accuracy. Soderberg does not do that. He's also below average in accuracy, but through all of this, he still gained strokes off the tee through the season, which I thought was interesting to see. Without
Yeah.
accuracy or distance, he still gains nearly half a stroke on the field off the tee. So I don't know where that comes from, but he does do that statistically speaking. He last played the Qatar Masters though. That, like you said, that is a bit concerning. We haven't seen him in a very long time on the DP World Tour. I think it was early February, so darn
Yeah,
near
5 weeks ago.
5-6 weeks ago. Yeah, so but he did place T3rd at the Asia uh, uh, Bank Open. He T6th at Bahrain and T9th at Ras Al Khaimah. So three top tens there with a top five. Some really good form the last time we saw him. Models extremely well, and that's where I'm gonna go with it.
Yeah, he is sick on approach. That is about as plain and simple, cut and dry. He's one of the best approach players we'll see on the DP World Tour. It'll come down to off the team with the putter with Soderberg. But for my next selection, I'm pivoting to a fellow Swede in Jesper Svensson at 66 to 1. So another guy, long off the tee. That was my criteria this week. That is what I was looking for. And he's also had a really good start to the season, even though his only appearance on the South Africa swing at the Johnson Workwear was a T67, which was kind of ugly. His three starts before that were a T2 in Bahrain, a T16 at the Magical Kenya Open, or sorry, T16 at the Qatar Masters, then a T11 at the Magical Kenya Open. So coming in with some good form, my favorite thing to do is to throw out the last crappy round and focus on the good form, which is what I'm doing here with Svensson, the fellow Swede. Long off the tee, good putter. It'll come down to his approach play with how he plays this week.
Yeah, he was the guy. I think it was Julian Brun at the SDC that withdrew, or so one of those tournaments, and then Jesper was the guy I put in there, and that's where I wanted to go T66. But yeah, I mean, I love the guy. He does what you want this week, much longer than Soderberg is off the tee. So there's that to boot as well. But yeah, absolutely love it, and a good shout there. Moving down my list here, we're moving on to Rikua Hashino here, 60 to 1. My first click when I loaded the book this week. I mean, this guy won at the Qatar Masters recently in some insane form, and there's no denying that. He's also second on tour in approach, 6 in tee to green, 21st in scrambling, 22nd putts per green regulation, 35th around the green. Again, one not too long ago. I guess it's been 5 weeks since the Qatar Masters. We talked about that already. He also posted, I think we cannot forget about this. He posted back-to-back solo runner-up finishes in the Australian swing over the season. I know it's been 3-4 months since then, but those were pretty loaded fields. That was PGA Tour,
Yeah.
Live, DP World Tour, a lot of top guys in those fields, and he posted solo seconds in back-to-back weeks. I think it's rather impressive for someone of that nature. But again, also from Japan, he's used to these climates, these hot, sticky, really warm, wet, rainy, stormy conditions, and I think that's a positive as well. Again, 60 to 1, recent winner. I guess I'm kind of feeling a little bit. I guess I want to go back to that, right? That's where I'm going for. I'm along
Yep.
for another victory, and I had them. I guess it's been 5 weeks since, but man, 60 to 1 was a number I could not ignore.
Yeah, I can't fault you for that. And like you said, I didn't even consider, he's, Japanese, so he's familiar with this kind of terrain and with this course. The recent form hasn't been so great, but like you said, if you just expand that short-term form into a little bit long-term, which is just to the start of the season, we're not talking
It's
like
yeah,
a
it's not
year
like it's
ago.
yeah, it's not like it's last season. It's still within 4 months.
Right.
Which, if we're in June and you're looking back to February, you consider it, but it just seems a little bit different because it was in December opposed to, you know, like I said, in
Exactly.
terms of 4 months.
Exactly. Exactly. So I really like the call out there, and I love the number you got on him. Moving into my next selection here is going to be Scott Jamieson at 70 to 1. Kind of pivoting off of my distance to kind of hedge myself out in case it's just not a bomber's paradise. Scott Jamieson is perfectly average when it comes to driving distance. So not short, but not long. And I liked his kind of lead in form here. But going back to that well of we haven't seen him since the Qatar Masters where he placed solo third, the Bahrain Championship, he placed T16. So coming in on some decent form. Last year at this event, he placed T23, which I like to see. But when you think of Jameson, it's one of those around the green and putter guys. So, the distance off the tee isn't going to be there. He's not going to kill you off the tee where his tournament is going to be won and losses with the iron play. So, if we're looking for peak off the tee and putting performances, I'm going here with Jameson to get the irons together and kind of put a good week together for me at 70-1.
Yeah, Jameson isn't a name that I have thought of recently. I will be completely honest with you. I'm gone completely dark here. I'm trying to get my lights back on. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's a name that you don't see often on the DP World Tour. It's a guy who's been around for a bit, right? And it's just one
Yep.
of those guys you like to see. And when it comes to DP World Tour, there's I find myself kind of forcing some guys in my cards, right? Just because you like them, you've seen them a while, and then there may be a little bit of a skewy situation with him in there. But no, not with Jameson this week. Love to see that one. Similar number. I'm going Matthew Jordan here at 65-1. A guy we haven't seen a ton this season, just 5 times, but his last appearance, T4 at the Magical Kenny Open. Also went T16 at the Bahrain Championship this season. Ninth in driving distance. He's very long off the tee, top 10 there. He's also 10th in tee to green, 29th in putts per green regulation. 38th around the green, 64th in approach. Yeah, I mean, that's about it. When you're getting out of Jordan, nothing super exciting, but man, he's long with it off the tee. He does well tee to green and has decent approach numbers to boot with a decent putter in his hand as well. So I think that can be a successful way to attack this course, right? We talk about driving distance ready. You
Yep.
just get there with a decent approach shot, and I took consideration the putts per green relation. I was looking back at last year's stats opposed to trying to break it down mentally with what this course has to offer. So what I did this week was I actually went to last season's stats, averaged them out for the top like 20 guys and seen what was important last week. And I came to the conclusion that putts per green regulation was the biggest factor here opposed to strokes gained putting or say putts per round. I guess it does make sense that you have to get there first before you can make a putt, and having to do so in the sense of being on the green regulation and taking advantage of that could be crucial this week. And we talk about around the green work as well. So if you're able to get on in regulation and then capitalize on that, it could be a two-stroke swing considering what people can do around the green as well.
Yeah, definitely. This guy fits my mold almost perfectly, and I haven't really given him a good enough look, but I think you've talked me into him if there's room on my card. He fits that exact mold that I was looking for this week with the driving distance and everything. But here's where I think we start to overline or overlap a little bit. My next play is going to be Ugo Crusade. I probably butchered that, but at 100-1. Just I've been on him since the beginning, right? He's one of those, like you mentioned before, like he just finds his way onto my card, whether it be forced or not. He's just playing some great golf. And on the DP World Tour, more than the PGA Tour, like it is so variable who wins that if you find a guy playing consistent, good golf, that win should come. For you, that's Xander Lombard, definitely the top tier of the DP World Tour. I'm scraping the bottom of the barrel a little bit more with Kusad, but just playing some awesome golf. In Bahrain at T12, a solo second in Qatar. And then in the South African swing here, the T24 at the SDC and the T23 at the Johnson Workwear. So continuing his good form, long off the tee, great putter. It'll come down to the approach play for him, but I hope he connects the dots this week and finally pays me off.
Yeah, I mean, it is nice to find on the DPA World Tour, the bottom end of the barrel is so hard to find consistency, but you're able to find a guy that is somewhat decent and somewhat consistent down here, and that can go a long way. And you mentioned it could pay off for you here in a big way, 100-1. And I'm kind of going the similar way here with Darius Vandrill at 200-1. 200-1 is where I got this guy. Man, this guy was in the victory circle 3 weeks ago in Kenya,
Yep.
4 weeks ago, whatever it was. Like, it doesn't make sense why he was so low when the odds opened Monday morning, but I'm not complaining at 200-1. I'll take that every day of the week when it comes to Vandrill. Won the Magical Kenny Open, T4th at Alfred Dunhill Championship, T9th at Joburg Open, again back in November, December of last year, but again, within 4 or 5 months of what's going on here. Currently fifth on tour and around the green, ninth in tee to green, 12th in approach, 57th in putts per green regulation. Not too long, 84th there, but not super short either. That's decent. That's about an average number when it comes to distance off the tee. So everything else he does elevates him this week. again, just one of those guys that is in good form. Won recently in another course that required distance in Kenya. So 201, man, I just thought that was too good a value to leave out there.
Yep, that was my last play also. So 200 to 1. I got him on Monday morning. Just you hit all the points. I mean, an absolutely ridiculous number for a guy who won not too long
It had
ago.
been a
So
misprice.
it had to have been, but I'm still seeing like a lingering 170, 150,
Huh.
which I would take that number, but um it's one of those that like we both hit him a couple weeks ago. Like, how can we not go back to him here again at 200 to 1?
Yeah, this kind of reminds me when I hit Wyndham, not Wyndham Clark, Lucas Glover at the Wyndham. He opened at 110 to 1, and it was an obvious misprice. He was down to like 60 or 70. This wasn't too long after he won prior. So, um,
Yeah.
yeah, same situation here. All right. Anything else about this event you want to talk about before we get off here, Jake?
No, I think we covered it well.
All right, guys. So that's it for this week's summary of the Valspar Championship and the Porsche Singapore Classic. I think I said that correctly. Um,
Yep.
I think we had the Texas next week, right? PGA Tour schedule. I
Yep.
think
Yep.
is it Valero before the Houston or is it Houston? Houston first. Yep,
I get
Houston
them
taking over.
confused.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Houston taking over for the WGC. So Houston Open will be next. It's been a few seasons since we've been in Houston. I think it was a fall swing event, maybe in 2022, somewhere around there. Um, yeah, I believe so. I mean, the last time we were here, Tony Finau won. I mean, kind of a
Yep.
resident local type of victory for him. And then we had a Valero, and then the big one, the Masters, is just 3 weeks away, and
We're almost there, Nate.
I am so excited, man. This time of year is this is it. This is it. We got March Madness starting up here in 2 days. I guess the playing games are tonight. I think one's happening as we're recording this. We have that baseball season starts in a week and a half, 2 weeks, the 24th, no, 26th, 27th, somewhere in there.
Well, we
So
have
yeah.
the game in Korea with the Dodgers and the Padres. That's like a week before the season actually
Oh, yep.
starts. But
Yep. We have that. And then the Masters. So this time of year is my favorite time of year when it comes to sports. I mean, even around here, the weather's getting warmer, even though it's been 70 degrees. And I look outside of my truck as I'm recording this, and there's snow on the ground for whatever reason. It's 30 degrees outside and snowing, and it was 70 degrees 2 days ago. But that's besides it. This is going to be it's turning out for us. We got a lot of great sporting events coming on. I know we've talked a lot about some potential. I know we're both going to be at the Travelers here come this
yep.
summer slash fall, somewhere around there.
Yeah, I think it's in June.
Yeah. So if you are listening to this and you're gonna be at the Travelers, we'll shoot us a message and maybe we can meet up at one of the holes and say hi. So well, that's gonna be a good time as well. Looking forward to that. Just getting to a PGA Tour event just because it's a weird sport to watch in person because it's so hard to watch in person, but it's also like my favorite to
Yeah,
watch just to see these guys and how they swing and move the ball.
in
It's something you
person.
can't see like in person opposed to on TV. I say the same thing about like NBA games. Like I'm not a big basketball fan, NBA fan, but man, watching it in person is just watching those guys and the size and what they're able to do move is just rather impressive. So I think it's the same thing with PGA and how they're able to swing the golf club, manipulate the ball, and everything around them is absolutely insane. And it just blows my mind that you can have a line of people on both sides, and we just trust these people to not hit us.
My
I
favorite
know.
is the player caddy communication. Like hearing them talk through a shot. We don't necessarily get that through TV.
Oh
Sometimes,
no,
like sometimes you overhear like Jordan Spieth because he's pretty loud, but some of these other guys, like you don't hear them talk to their caddies all too often. And just hearing the thought process of these guys, I bring that into my own game of like, hey, like I got to start thinking like this versus like just get up there and smack the ball as hard as I can.
I love how like free flown it is. It's not like when
Yes.
they walk from the front to the back. They don't have like security guards pushing people back. It's like when I was at the Oak Hill last year, I rounded the corner and I'm pretty much walking side by side with Colin Morikawa as he walks the back nine. And I'm like, is someone going to tell me to stop doing this? No, I just kept walking right next to him, and it's so cool that it's like that, in my opinion, where it's kind of just you're there with them, you see them, you can all of it. It's really cool.
Yeah.
But all right, Jake, one more time, where we can find you on social media.
Yep, you can find me at the Jake Friedman on Twitter. I know I've been a little bit more lackadaisical with my matchup plays, but I promise I'm going to post some. So give me a follow on Twitter where you can find those matchup plays, but also join the Discord. Like Nate said, 175 plus and growing in there, completely free to join. You can see both of our outright cards, our matchup plays, Nate's first round leaders exclusive there. Completely free to join. So highly encourage and join in on the conversation, whether you just want to listen or if you want to partake. I think it's some really valuable information that comes across that group chat every single day. But yeah, completely free to join again. You could find the link in my article each week, but you could also find it on each of our Twitters.
No doubt about that. Be sure to follow myself, Nate, on Twitter at WKF Be sure to follow We Know Fantasy on all forms of social media at We Know Fantasy. Visit WeKnowFantasy.com for more fantasy sports content. Until next time, guys, we'll see you.